Today we're going to try to make potato gnocchi as per Iron Chef Marc Forgeon. So we're going to try his recipe out today. So what we need to do is we have 4 russet potatoes and we have a baking sheet here. So we're going to put some salt on the baking sheet, just mounds to put the potatoes on top of. And what this does is this draws out the moisture. So we're going to put 1, 2, 3. Add a little more here. More salt. 4. So we have the 4 potatoes there, and we're going to take a fork and we're going to poke holes in all the potatoes. And you got to give it quite a poke because the potatoes are hard. They haven't cooked yet at all. What I've also done is I've started to preheat the oven at 375 degrees. So this prevents the potato from actually browning or anything like that. So this is an important part of the process. Okay, so what I did was I put some fork holes in the top of the potatoes, and we're going to put them in the oven for 45 minutes, and the potatoes should be ready. So let's take them out of the oven. And they look good. So we're going to put them out here. And we're just going to let them sit for about 10 minutes, because what we're going to do after is cut them and take the insides out. But we need to let them cool a little so they're not going to burn my hands. So about 10 minutes. Okay, so the potatoes have cooled. They're warm to the touch, but we can work with them without burning our hands. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut the potato in half. And then we're going to take a spoon and spoon out the inside of the potatoes. Okay? And we're going to do this with each potato. And we're going to put it right in the bowl. Okay, so I've removed all the peels of the potato, the skin, and we now have them in a food mill, which is the same as a potato ricer. It does the same thing. It basically just separates the potato and makes it into almost like a string-like, give it a string-like consistency. It separates the potato, pushes it through a strainer, and makes it into very small pieces. Okay, so there we go. And just so you get a quick look at what that looks like, it just makes it into very small, almost like a dough consistency, and that's what we're looking for. So I'm going to finish up with this. Okay, so we finished the potatoes. We have a nice consistency of a dough. You know, it separates it and makes it look like a dough. So now we're going to start adding some eggs and making it into a dough. I formed the gnocchi, and the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to just take a sprinkle of flour and lay it here on the counter. And I'm going to take the potatoes and just throw them on top. Okay, so we have that. And what I did was I took 1 egg. I'm going to give it half a teaspoon of salt. And we're going to beat the egg. Okay, we're going to give it a quick whip. And then we're going to pour this over the potatoes. Okay. And that's what that's going to do is help you bind the potatoes and help you when you're forming the potatoes. Okay, so now we're going to take our hands and we're going to just make sure we get all the egg. Okay, like this. Just form the potato there. And now I have 1 cup of flour. I'm going to add 1 cup of flour. And this is going to form into a dough-like consistency. Okay? So, do it nice and slow so you don't make too much of a mess. That's my advice. Okay? So, now we're going to knead it. Okay? So we're just going to form it into like a ball. Try and get a bit of a consistency here. Okay. And as you start moving it around and pressing it down, you're going to see it start taking form and make it more manageable. Okay. And then we're going to start just pressing down on it, folding it over. And this is called like kneading the dough. So we're just going to press it over, press down, press down. It's a good workout too. So you build a little bit of muscle while you're cooking. You don't have to go to the gym after this. But as you can see, the dough is getting easier to work with. It's starting to form into what you can work with. Okay, so you press down, you press over, you press down, you press over, and you just press down. You know, just put some body weight into it when you're pressing down. Okay, and you just keep folding it over in whatever direction you want, and you press down. Okay. And how do you know that the dough is ready? Well, the first thing, you feel that it's starting to get tighter. You can feel it in your hands, and it's easier to work with. So if it starts getting a little sticky, take a little more flour here and move the flour over. Okay, and then fold over, down, press down, fold over, press down. Now, the true test to see if your dough is kneaded to where you need it to be is to press down, and then once you have it, you stick your finger in. And if nothing sticks to your finger, then the dough is ready. Nothing stuck to my finger, my hole is clean, so I think we're ready. Okay, so now you have the dough and it's ready to go. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut the dough into 6 pieces. And we're going to try and cut it evenly. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 and 6. Okay, so, and you take one at a time. Let's put the others aside. And what you want to do is, you're going to want to try and roll them into like a cigar. And you just take it like this, and you roll it out and roll it out. Keep rolling, it'll get thinner. You want to make it to about a ½ inch thickness. So you see how I'm just rolling back and forth? And it's starting to take a round shape. So, let's see what we can do with this. I don't know exactly what we're going to be able to do with this, because I've never made this before this way. But I guess wherever we make our mistakes, we'll know for the next time. Let's see. Okay, so you can feel where it's getting a little thin in certain areas, and you go to the other area and roll out into it. Okay, let's see what we got here. Alright, that's not perfect, but it looks pretty good. And what we'll do is we'll cut it into little pieces. Just take it like this. And here's our little pieces of gnocchi. So we have our gnocchi there, starting to take form, and we'll see how this goes. So, and we'll do that with all 6 of these, and let's see how much gnocchi that makes, but I think we'll have plenty. Okay, so as you can see, we've cut up the gnocchi, and we have it on a parchment paper. And the last thing we're going to do is we're going to sprinkle some flour over the top. Just sprinkle some flour like this so it doesn't stick as you're working with it over there. So, it doesn't have to be perfect, just flour right over the top. Okay, and we're ready for the next step. So what we're going to do is I put a pot of water on the stove, and we're going to boil it. Okay, so what I did here was I put the stove on high, and I took 6 tablespoons of butter, which is like 3/4 of a stick, and we're going to melt the butter. We're going to melt the butter into a brown consistency till you see like little brown flecks of the butter coming up to the top. And we're going to brown it. It's going to turn brown, don't worry. But you have to stay on top of it, and you have to keep stirring. So let's start the process, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. This whole process so far, we've been into it for about 1 minute, 40 seconds. So it doesn't take long, and it goes from this to brown very quickly. So just don't walk away from it. Don't stop stirring it. dedicate yourself for a good 3 minutes to just this butter. And it'll be worth it in the long run when we dip it into the delicious gnocchi. And as you can see, it's foaming up. Keep stirring it. And the edges I see are starting to brown, so that'll come out. And you're starting to smell the butter changing. It's starting to smell a little nutty, which is what we're looking to do. Okay, so now it's starting to thin out, and as you can see, the bubbles got smaller. And we'll keep stirring it. If you can see the edges here, it's starting to turn brown, and our sauce is starting to turn brown, and the bubbles are going away. Okay, so we're almost exactly to where we want to be. Okay, all the bubbles are going. If you could see, the sauce is going from that yellowy butter color into a brown color. Very quickly this happens, and we've been doing this for about 4 minutes now, and as you can see, there's some brown flecking going on in here. So there's all these little flecks of butter, and it's looking brown, and we're going to shut the heat off, and it's starting to turn brown. There we go. And we're going to take it and off the heat. So there's your brown melted butter. The total process took about 4.5 minutes. Okay, and we're going to set that aside. The water's boiling. We're going to put in quite a bit of salt, and as my old friend Mario Batal, and I'm just going to drop the gnocchi in there nice and soft. I'm going to drop some more gnocchi. Now this gnocchi, it's very easy to tell when it's done, and basically how you can tell is when it's done, it's going to float to the top of the water, and it gets done pretty quickly. It floats to the top of the water. Once it hits the top of the water, you let it sit on top of the water for 30 seconds. It's been boiling on there probably for about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes, and as you can see, the gnocchi has floated to the top. So our next thing is we're going to scoop them out, and we're going to scoop some out into the bowl, into a blank bowl, and some into the bowl where we had the butter. So let's start that process. We said the gnocchi is ready, so we're going to scoop it out of here, and we're just going to give it a little bit of a drain there. We're going to put the butter back on to a medium low. So we're going to do it at about 3, and then I'm going to drop the gnocchi in here. Let's get some more. Okay. Let's drop all the gnocchi. That's it. That's all the gnocchi. It all floated to the top. Now, we're going to give it one little sprinkle of red pepper. Not a lot, just enough to give it flavor. Okay? And then I took about 6 or 7 leaves of sage, and I'm going to sprinkle that on. And then I'm just going to mix it all up. Okay. Just going to let it sit in here for about 1 minute. Absorb all the flavors. I'm going to give it a little time just to go in there and absorb the flavors. And then we'll plate. Okay, so we've plated our gnocchi. I took some Parmesan cheese with a potato peeler, and I'm just going to take some nice thin slices to put over the gnocchi. It should be enough. Okay, just to make the dish pretty, we have some of the sage on there. And now, the most important part of all, we're going to taste it. So let's see how this tastes. Great mix of flavors. The gnocchi is nice and light. I would say this was a pretty successful. Bon appetit.